Hello everyone, welcome to our channel The Easy Concepts. Today we are going to start with a new series of videos where we will interview someone who has cracked a prestigious examination or interview of a product-based company. So today we have someone who has cracked Goldman Sachs. Welcome Sandeep Uniyal. So we have Sandeep with us, who is working as an analyst at Goldman Sachs. He has a past experience of working at Societe Generale, and he's an alumni of NIT Calicut. So, Sandeep, can you introduce yourself to our viewers?
So Vipin, you pretty much said all about me, but yes, just adding to that, so I have a couple of months of experience of working with Goldman Sachs now, and I've entire 3 years of experience working as a software engineer, uh, and I did my masters from NIT Calicut. So yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, at Goldman Sachs, was that your first attempt, or you have done multiple?
Yeah, that was my first.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Sandeep, we have a lot of viewers who are aspiring to crack interviews in these product-based companies. So, what was the entire process like?
So Vipin, it was a long process at Goldman Sachs, but I would say the first thing for such interviews is to land an interview at the company. So first thing for the candidates would be to get a call from the company, and then the process begins. So for that, I would say you have to maintain your profile well, and probably your social networking profiles like LinkedIn. And if you're working on open source systems, so probably a GitHub would play a big role in that.
Absolutely.
And other platforms like for freshers like Naukri.com, most of these things. Yeah.
So, Sandeep, as we know, you are from NIT, and we assume that it plays a vital role in getting you an interview call for that company. So, what the process looks like for people who are not from NITs or IITs? So, what the process looks like for them?
Yeah, so I mean, I have got questions like this in past as well, and I would say that this really gives you an edge if you're from a tier 1 or 2 institutes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter if you really worked on great projects, and if you can showcase your skills, it's pretty much same for anyone. So
Okay.
if you get a call from Goldman Sachs or any big brand for that matter, it's a similar process. If you can crack the interviews and subsequent rounds, it's pretty much same.
So, getting the interview calls would be a difficult task for them, or
No, so as I previously said, if you showcase your skills, and if you're really working on great projects, it's not difficult for you to get a call, and you have to really maintain your profiles. So you have to get the attention of the brands and the companies. So you really have to maintain your profiles, and get them updated. So you have to keep them updated so that companies and brands are able to notice you.
okay. So, maintaining the profile would be the first
Yeah.
thing that students should do.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's a great message.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we will move ahead and ask Sandeep about his interview experience. So, Sandeep, can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, sure. So it's basically a long process, and there were about 8 to 10 rounds of technical interviews.
Okay.
And so the first round begins, getting an interview call, and then you have to go through a coding round, which is basically a hacker rank test. So you'll be sitting at home, and you have to click on that link, and it's a 2-hour test.
Okay.
So there will be problems based on data structure algorithms, and you have to complete both the questions.
Okay.
So there are test cases which are given to you. So those who are who have already worked, have the experience of taking the hacker rank test, they know about it. So there will be 2 questions, and you have to complete both the questions. So if you leave at least one of them, and if your test cases are not cleared, I would say it's not cleared. So you have to complete, submit both the questions with all the test cases.
So, like you said, they asked you questions about data structure and algorithm. So, can you specify some topics which a student should prepare to crack those questions?
Yeah, so mostly the questions are from dynamic programming, which is very important, and after that you have divide and conquer and recursion,
Okay,
arrays. So questions would be mostly around that.
great. So, Sandeep, all that happens in the first round. So, what is the second round like?
So after you clear the first round, or as I said, if you clear all the test cases and you're successful, the company would call you for the second round of interview, which is a code repair round.
Mhm.
So for probably for the viewers, this is the it's a very unique round which Goldman have. So in Codapad round, it's a peer-to-peer round where you would be sitting with the interviewer, and you the interviewer will be giving you the questions, and you'll be solving the questions. So there are two set of questions, and so once you convince the interviewer that you have completed your question, he'll be giving you some test cases on that, and once you complete one question, you'll be given another question. So this happens across, it's a peer-to-peer programming experience. Well, interviewer will be sitting in the remote location, and he'll be sharing the screen with you. So you have to sit at your home and give that test.
So both rounds are programming based. So how is first round or second round different from each other?
So in the first round of interview, you'll be given a link which you have to open and submit your test.
Okay.
But in the second round of interview, you are actually sitting with an interviewer who is not face to face, but he's sitting in a remote location. He's continuously monitoring you,
Okay.
and then he's giving you a question, and he'll be there with you for entire 1 hour of duration, in which you have to complete two questions.
Okay.
And in the first round, you could have switched between the questions, but here there is something that you cannot do.
Okay.
And once you complete first question, then only the second question will be given. The first round of interview was basically problem solving round. In the second round, which is Codapad, it pretty much depends on the language that you choose, the programming language. If you are working on Java or Python, you can ask the interviewer to switch to that language, and you can complete that test. So one piece of advice, for the viewers, I would say is, when you are sitting for an Codapad test, it's very important for you to be careful. Listen to the interviewer, because in the first 2 to 3 minutes, he'll be explaining you the process of Codapad and how it will be evaluated. So I would ask you to listen to the interview carefully and understand the questions before just jumping into the solution.
Okay.
So discuss it with the interviewer. It's very important that you discuss, and probably if you're going in a wrong way or understanding the questions incorrectly, interviewer can correct you in that sense.
Okay, so you have to be more careful at the
Right.
too.
And you have to save some time for probably the next question might be a little difficult, so you have to keep track of time. You have just 1 hour.
Okay. So after the second round ends, so what happens next?
So after these are basically the knockout rounds, and after this, if you complete the Codapad round, company would be calling you for the next round of interview, which is for me was a telephonic round of interview.
Okay.
And that lasts about 30 to 40 minutes. So that's basically a round where interview will be asking questions all around your projects and the things that you have worked on, probably your resume. So I would suggest if whatever you have in your resume, you have to be thoroughly careful about that. It should be, he or she can ask questions from any page of your interview. He can start from the beginning, and
They can basically put questions on any
Yeah.
point of
so for me, being a master's student and having a previous employee in an financial based organization, there were questions around the technology and the thesis or the project that I worked on, and how was my experience in previous organization, and all sorts of questions. So you have to be very careful about the what you write in your resume. So mostly questions would be around that, and it could be something around what the team or the company is working on.
So the entire telephonic round will depend on how well you have prepared your resume and how thorough you are about it.
Yeah, it depends actually. So because interviewer might ask you anything from your resume, or from the experience that you mentioned, or from the projects that you have mentioned there. So it's basically another knockout round, just like the first problem solving and the Codapad round. So if you do not clear the first or the second round, you cannot jump to the next round.
Okay. So after the telephonic round, what is the process?
So after you've cleared the first, first 3 rounds, you'll be asked to come for face-to-face interview, and you'll be visiting the firm, and there you will probably have 4 to 5 rounds of interview, which will be face-to-face.
Okay. So regarding the first 3 rounds, do they happen in a single day, or they are spread out between the days?
No, you will be given plenty of time, during your interview process. So it seems a long process of 8 to 10 rounds, but it's
Yeah,
not like that. So you'll be probably getting weeks between your subsequent rounds. So once first round of interview happens, and I would assume that mostly people are working, so you'll be given a week of time till you go to your next round. So you have plenty of round to prepare and understand the process, and Goldman is very careful about that, and they give you time in that.
So after completing 3 rounds of interviews, you have to visit the campus for further process.
Right.
So can you tell us something about that?
So yeah, after completing these 3 rounds, you'll be visiting the campus. You'll probably be asked to come for around 4 to 5 rounds of interviews. For me, it was asked for 4 rounds, and so it happens on the single day, and it's a very long process. So this takes your entire day of time, because mostly there'll be 4 to 5 rounds of interview, and mostly they're gonna last about 1 to 1.5 hour each. So yeah, it's a long process, but yeah, you can survive that. So when I visited the campus, the first round begins where you'll probably have a panel of two, and questions are mostly around the data structure algorithms again. Uh, a, a little bit deviating to database, or a little bit of the probability and analytical questions. So mostly questions are around data set and algorithms. So for me, the first round lasted for about 1.5 hours, and the questions were mostly around data statistical algorithms, mostly on the optimization problems. For the viewers who are from computer science background, so you'll be asked to optimize the problems, probably in time or space or something around that. So I would suggest you do not have to jump to the conclusion and the solution directly. So you have to begin with the simple discussion with the interviewer. First of all, you have to explain your approach, that how you're going about this problem, and then you have to slightly move towards the optimization thing. And there are chances that interviewer might ask you in between that could you just jump to the solution, like that. But you have to start with your understanding of the problem, then discussing it, and making your way through the final set of solutions that you have. So it's not a difficult process. So you have to be there and think about it. They give you plenty of time to think through it, and they help you to understand the problem and make your way through it.
So as you said, the first 2 rounds are based on data structure and algorithm. So how is this different from the first 2 rounds?
So the first difference is it's a face-to-face round. So
Okay.
it's more a personal touch, and the interviewer understands you better in that way. And although there are questions from data set algorithms, but it's never like there's no framework of what will be asked in the interview. So
Yeah, there
mostly
is no restriction.
yeah, so there'll be questions around analytics and probability, and probably a tougher set of questions that you may not expect. And so interviewer may not want you to completely go to the solution, but they want to discuss your opinions and approach, and what do you take out of this
Right,
problem. So that's the basically difference that you have when you are sitting face to face down with the interviewer. So you have a lively you know uh, connection there. So that's all about it.
So can you tell us something about what happens next?
So there is another round after this, and which is basically similarly on the the same pattern of questions, and but there'll be a different interview panel, and based on what the team is working on, or from the experience of the interviewer itself, they may ask you questions probably from the same domain, but they could be different questions, and it basically depends uh, the understanding of the interviewer itself, and how you are able to convince them. So probably it plays a big role in how you are able to convince a lot of people from there, a lot of interview panels. So it's not a single mindset in that case. You'll be sitting across different panels, and you'll have different set of questions, and it will take a different convincing power for you to convince interviewers.
Sure.
So the questions are basically from data set algorithms and the computer science, but the panel is going to be different, and there are questions which are going to be different.
So the number of people will be same across the rounds, or there'll be more or less in some.
That could be. There are panels of two, or probably one sometimes. So it depends.
Yeah. So can you tell further what happens?
So after this was till the second the second face-to-face round, and then after that you'll probably be asked questions on the design patterns or probably the system design. So it mostly goes around like this. There'll be a interview panel which, and they'll be asking you questions around the problems that they have, the ongoing problems in their team and the solution they are working on. So they would ask you questions around that to understand, if you are going to be a member of the team and if you're going to working in Goldman Sachs, how you're going to approach those things. So they tackle your understanding, and they want to understand your opinion on different system design problems or the problems that they have in their team. So it's now not a data set algorithm problem, it's a practical problem where you'll be asked questions around how you're going to tackle this memory issue, or probably something that you have seen in the past, that there was a problem in the production and how you were able to tackle around it. So the questions are going to be more practical this time, and the questions are going to be on the system design side, the architecture side, and how you're going to meet those problems. So there'll be cross questions around that, and it's not going to be a simple problem to solution statement. Just like most of the problems here, you can have multiple solutions. The interviewer just wants to understand your opinion and your design approach on those things.
So, do we have people from the team itself, or do we have the people who are the interviewers are from the management? So, what's
Yeah, so now being and working at Goldman Sachs, I have seen that there are most of the time there are people who are interviewing you, you are from your teams, or something that they are going you to recruiting you for. But in many cases there are people from other domains, or probably from a different team. So the questions are, but the mostly problems are going to be same, because it's the same infrastructure and design issues. So the questions can be, it doesn't depend if they are from your team, and it's not going to be different.
so? Till now, we have discussed about 3 rounds of personal interviews that they take place in campus. So, do they give you any break, or is this back to back?
No, it's not back to back, but yeah, they give you plenty of time to relax yourself and go for the next round. So you can have coffee in between, and you can relax as much as you want, but you have to be prepared for the next round.
Okay.
So after 3 rounds of interview, for me, I was given a lunch break, and I actually went with the team that I was thinking I would work with.
Okay.
So yeah, I went for lunch with them, and I had a good time. So I kept myself relaxed. So after 3 rounds of interview, you again you have a round of interview after that, and it's mostly on the similar lines again. So there will be a different interview this time, and so he'll be asking you questions around the same data set algorithms. For me, it was a drilling round, because after lunch you probably would not be in the right place, and the questions are going to be same, and you have to be prepared with
You
with the
cannot
same.
be relaxed or something.
Yeah, so you have to be prepared with the same energy as you were with the
Yeah,
first round and in the morning.
of course.
So it's a bit challenging at this time, but the questions are going to be same on the similar lines, and so you have to be prepared for that as well.
So it feels like a long process. So are there any interviews left, or is this at the end?
So after the fourth round of interview, as I was asked for 4 rounds of face-to-face interview, I was like, okay, this is over. And then they came and they told me that there is another round which they would like me to sit for. So I was like, okay. But then it's a long process, but I wouldn't say that this is that much tiring process, because they give you time to relax, and as the time goes and you sit for subsequent round of interviews,
Yeah.
You kind of feel that energy that this is going well, and it doesn't feel very that bad. So but I would say the last round of interviews are mostly with the hiring managers, or the senior people in the organization. So for me it was like that. So, and just like you asked, the first question was, okay, Sandeep, do you feel tired? It's a tiring process, right? So I was like, no, I mean, I'm okay. I was tired, but not to that extent. So I was happy that this is going to end now. And so now this time there were questions not from the similar the subjective questions or the problem solving questions, but more about how you this was a technical round, to be honest. and to make that very clear, because all the rounds were technical for me, and but the questions would be more around how you carry yourself, uh, from a management perspective, that
Okay.
how you, if you're given a problem and you are the owner of a project, and if you're solely working on something, you should be responsible and accountable, and the questions were like around, mostly on those lines. So these are going to be technical questions, but they carry slightly more weightage, because you have to be accountable for what you say, and you have to be very careful, deciding on the solutions of the problems.
So after these 5 rounds of interviews, I assume they would let you go. So after these 5 rounds, is the decision final to take you or not?
No, it's still not final. So
Okay.
probably in summary, you're done for the day and you can go home. And luckily it was over for me as well. So I was accompanied by an interviewer himself, and
Okay.
so when I went home, they told me to, HR would be, reaching out to you on the final decision. And so this happened on the next day. I was sitting in my office, and I got a call from Goldman Sachs that you're selected for the Goldman Sachs, and that was a wow moment for me. So it doesn't take very much time. If you're selected, they'll be informing you right away.
So what is the time duration that the call takes place after the interviews?
So no, it didn't take much time for me. It was the very next day that I got the call, and it really doesn't take that much time for them to choose you or not choose you.
Okay. That's great to hear, and I
Thanks.
assume it was a great process for you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay. So do you have any suggestions for our viewers who are aspiring to be cracking those interviews?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things when you uh, get a call from Goldman Sachs. It's really, first of all, thinking about such a brand. There are people who are very scared, and looking at the number of rounds, that
Yeah.
there are about 10 rounds of technical interviews. But I would say it's not a very that long process, because you get enough time to prepare yourself. And first 3 rounds of interview are basically, you have to sit at your home and prepare for the interviews, and that takes about 2 to 3 weeks of time, depending on your availability. And then when you're called for the face-to-face round, that's just 1 day process. So, but I would suggest, before going for the interviews at Goldman Sachs, you have to be really prepared, and you cannot take a chance. These are basic. Even the face-to-face rounds are basically knockout rounds,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't ask you to go home. But if you're not able to answer a question, or you kind of know it. If it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. There is no chance of mistakes there. So you have to really prepare yourself. You have to make your profiles better. You have to be updated on them, so that you get noticed. And when you get the call, you just have to prepare just like any other company or any other brand. So it's just a similar process. It looks long, but it's not. So, and I would say, just be mindful and be hopeful. It's not that difficult. Anyone can do it, and everyone can do it. So it's a great company. It's a great process, and you can also do that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's great
that's
to hear those words from you.
yeah. Thanks.
So great to have you, Sandeep, here.
Likewise. Thanks.
Great. So that was Sandeep with us. So I hope you like the video and you get benefited from that. So if you have any suggestions or questions or anything like that, you can post down in the comments. So we will be coming up with the next guest very soon. So till then, take care and have a good time.